What's up everybody, I'm MJ and you're watching MJ's Tech Talk, the place where I talk tech, and today I'm coming at you with another video. And in this video, I'm going to talk about what else? The Canon EOS M6. That's right, check it out. In this video, I'm going to go over my top 10 features of the Canon EOS M6. So I have here the Canon EOS M6, and this is an awesome little camera. I mean, I've had this guy for quite a while now. It's about 2 years old. Lately I've been thinking, should I upgrade to the Canon EOS M6 Mark II, or is this guy still relevant and still worth hanging on to into 2020? That's a good question. Let's dive into the specs and we'll decide. Canon, unlike some other camera brands, it seems like they just put out cameras like every single year, like it's so quick. This camera came out 2 years ago and it's already been updated by a newer, more advanced flagship. The difference between the two, if you're choosing between the Canon EOS M6 and the Canon EOS M6 Mark II, is probably going to come down to price and what you want to spend. If you're like me and you already have the camera and you're considering an upgrade, maybe think about the specs that this camera has versus the specs that the new camera is bringing to the table, which it is packing quite a punch, but it's also packing quite a price tag. The Canon EOS M6 Mark II is retailing right now for $999 body only, or $1099 for the kit. If you're thinking of upgrading, you probably already have glass and you probably already have some things that you can take with you, so buying the body only just leaves you spending $999. And if it's worth it to you, totally go ahead and upgrade. If not, hang on to the camera you have for right now and see what else Canon has in store. You're trying to decide between the two. It's the same principle. The Canon EOS M6 is retailing right now for $799. So you have one camera that's $799 and you have another camera that's $999 or $1099, depending on if you get the kit or not. So a couple $100 will let you get into a camera that's really good and has some great features, and a few more $100 will let you get into the latest version of that camera. I'm gonna go over the specs of this EOS M6 and let you decide. So right now I'm giving you the top 10 features of the Canon EOS M6. Number one. I already talked about number one, but number one is price. Right now you can get this camera retailing for $799 and probably with the kit for less than $900. You could also pick it up used for around $300 or $400. I've seen it around for that, or renewed on Amazon for $599. Number two, vlogging. If you're at all into vlogging, content creation for either YouTube, Instagram, any of these social media platforms, vlogging is really taking over the game right now. And if you're into that sort of thing, this is a great camera for just that purpose. It has a flip up screen, so the camera flips up by just holding the camera up. You can see yourself, and with Canon's great color science and dual pixel autofocus, it just grabs your face and hangs on to it. I mean, you gotta love this flip up screen. So the predecessor of this camera was the Canon EOS M5, and it actually had a flip down screen, which was like wildly unpopular for most people. The idea of having your screen like flip down below the camera and kind of get in the way of all your tripods, gimbals, anything like that, it really just didn't make sense. But Canon listened and they upgraded and they put the flip up screen on top. Now, one thing I do is mount this camera for top down shots. And the cool thing about it is I can leave the screen like this and it will self-adjust, and I'm able to watch the screen while it records down below. So this has really become my go-to camera for any kind of overhead shooting and setup. And typically for YouTube, I use the Canon M50 as my A camera, and this camera is my B camera. So number three, the size of this camera is so compact. If you look at it, it's like smaller than the palm of my hand. It literally fits into the palm of my hand. It's almost pocket size if you remove the lens, put on the sensor cap. You can throw this guy in your pocket if your pockets are big enough. It also has a rubberized coating all over the body, so it really feels good in the hand and it feels very secure to just grab and go. So the portability and the size of this camera is definitely a plus. I mean, it has such a small profile. This is a bigger lens on it, but if I were to switch this lens out for something like a 22mm, pancake lens, I mean, this would be a tiny setup. Number 4, the sensor. And I hope you can see it. Focus, focus. This APS-C sensor is 24.2 megapixels and it packs a punch. The bigger the sensor, the more detail, the more information you're gonna get in your films and your videos, which makes it great for post-processing. You're able to zoom in and get very close to that detail. Number 5, and this goes hand in hand with the sensor, the processor. The Canon Digic 7 processor, which is very quick and very snappy and responsive. It makes this camera good for on the go and any kind of run and gun style shooting. Thanks to the processor, this camera is capable of 7 frames per second. I don't know if you guys can hear this, but it just keeps going and going and going. I mean, it sounds pretty quick for a camera of this size. Number 6 is the video quality. The video quality in this camera is pretty great. It's backed by Canon's awesome color science. It shoots 1080p, high definition, and it's backed by Canon's color science. The great thing about this camera is you can shoot at 24 frames per second, 30 frames per second, or even 50 frames per second, which is really great for any kind of video content, especially if you want to slow things down and make more cinematic B-roll type sequences. This guy has you covered. Number 7, now this could be a plus or a minus depending on how you look at it, is the lens selection. Lucky for me, I have a wide selection of lenses for this camera because I have the Canon EOS M50, which also uses the same size M series lenses. I'm able to interchange the two and get like dual work out of one set of glass, which is great. And I also have an adapter for this camera, which allows you to adapt other Canon glass. There's about 9 different lenses available right now for this camera, and I have about 5 of them, so that really helps me like want to keep the camera because I already am invested in the ecosystem of the camera. Mark II also uses the same glass, so that could also work in your favor. Number 8. Number 8 is the digital viewfinder, and as you can see, there's not one, but never fear. They are sold separately. This camera doesn't come with the viewfinder, but they're sold separately and you can attach it to the top at like the hot shoe mount. What you do is remove this sensor cover and slide it on top of the hot shoe mount. See exactly what your photo is gonna look like in post. So it takes all of the guesswork out. If you are used to using mirrorless cameras, that's one of the features that I love most are the electronic viewfinders. And I really like the fact that if you want to make this camera even smaller and get rid of the weird shape, you can just remove this viewfinder and carry it separately, and it's also tiny in pocket size. Finally, number 10. Number 10 feature that I want to cover about this camera is the flash. It's rare that I use like an on-camera flash. Usually I use a strobe if I need to have a shoot, and this is typically not the camera that I would take along with me on a photo shoot, but it is totally capable of taking some professional looking images. And if you're on the fly and you just need some extra light, it's great that it has the flash built in. And not only does it have a flash built in, it has a pretty cool looking one. And that's one thing that makes it more notable. I mean, it looks super cool when it pops up, and the on-camera flash is quite handy. It also has laser on it, so when you point at something, the laser comes out, lets you line things up. So this is a sick little camera. It has a lot of nice features. It feels premium. Even though it's small, it doesn't feel cheap at all. It feels like a hefty little guy in your hand, like it takes up some space. Even though it's in a tiny form factor, it's pretty awesome. If you have any questions or anything you want to know about this camera or any of the other things that I discussed in my videos, be sure to drop a comment down below. This has been my top 10 features I like most about the Canon EOS M6. Thanks so much for watching. If you're new here, make sure you click that subscribe button. And while you're there, make sure you click the bell. That way you'll be notified every time I post new content. Peace.